All right, Kingston Flemings versus Illinois and Keaton Wagler. I mean, this is Flemings getting into his office. His signature 2-foot plant, which helps him, create a little bit separation, extra bounce, extra elevation on that shot. Unfortunately, he kind of predetermines it a little bit too often. I mean, look where his feet are planted, where his feet are pointed, I should say, when he's going up for this shot. With a big guy on him, he's got to turn his body mid-air, hit a contested shot while falling away. For me, it's just he takes a lot of these. These are tough to hit on a consistent basis. All right, semi-transition again. Love that move here. Right, forget the fact that he blew the layup, and that was, by the way, a good contest from Wagler, stepping in, good recognition, but also very good recognition here from Kingston. First of all, nice quick move right there to split the defense, and he obviously identifies all that space right here, right? Gets pretty good explosion on that finish. He just good contest from Wagler, and he comes up a little bit short. All right, Flemings rejects the ball screen, goes to the right here, and then look, his feet are planted now right at the rim. This is going to be a make, right? This is getting to his spot where he's very comfortable, and there he was very balanced. Didn't rush that one. All right, this is also just good recognition, good fundamentals here. So he gives it up. Flemings gives it up, and before he even gets it back, he sees all that open space to the right, and I know that he knows that because you can see the second that ball even comes close to his fingertips, he's already on his way there. It's almost like he's, cutting to the basket and catching it behind the arc. So this is a quick first move there because he knew exactly what was there. He knew he had to hit that hole, and then a good job right there with that dribble, shielding his man with that left foot and creating an easier finishing angle for himself. All right, we got Fleming's right side. All right, so he misses this shot. One of the reasons he misses it, I think this is just a tough for a righty on the right side of the court to go left to right dribble and go right up into the right hand on the hop. To me, this is Damian Lillard makes this, but this is a tough shot to make. It's kind of flashy. It's cool when it goes in. Um, I'm not so much worried about the miss. I think he just kind of took a tough shot there. Um, but I do like the confidence that he would take that pull up. Here's good defense from Wagler. Um, Again, this is Fleming's getting to his spot, but I mean, look where when he's going up to elevate. His feet are pointed nowhere near the rim. He's elevating and he still has yet to even see the rim yet. That's very good defense from Wagler, going straight up. Reaches over a little bit, but good contest, no foul. Just a very tough shot from Flemings. We know he can hit it, but again, he's not even looking at the rim. His feet are pointed towards the corner. He's not looking at the rim at all until right about now, which is tough to make. All right, end of the clock, end of the first half. Kind of the shot we just saw before. Um, he knew he didn't have as much time. I think that kind of helped him, not so much overthinking. He knew he had to take one dribble and pull up, drilled it. I mean, this is a good sign. I think NBA teams would love to see a lot more of that. The pull up threes, especially out of ISO, so he can be, as a ball handler, someone you want to give the rock to at the end of the clock. Same thing again here. I mean, gets to his spot. I mean, this is where I think he lacks a little bit of explosion. He didn't have a ton of rim attempts compared to some of the top ball handlers. Um, Again, I think he didn't turn the corner and he plants a little bit too early. Again, feet are probably not exactly tough to see there, but not pointed at the rim. Has to turn his body mid-air, hit a fall away, contested jumper, contested 2-point jumper, and again, just a tough shot to consistently rely on. All right, I like this here from Flemings, whether it goes in or not. Like this is just good, clean, poised, controlled. Takes a step back behind the arc, all in rhythm. He just kind of missed a shot, but I like where his head was at, and good footwork and fundamentals on that. I think we're going to see something similar here. Yeah, he probably should have shot it there, but I guess he got a little bit worried. That made him rush this, but this doesn't look like Klay Thompson. Obviously, he's nowhere near Thompson, not in the same hemisphere. But a little pump to get himself a little bit more time. Um, doesn't dip the ball. It stays right in that shooter pocket. That looks just like Klay from visually at least. And then he gets pretty much an uncontested shot there, and a lucky bounce. But good fundamentals. I probably would have preferred he'd shot it on the first time around right there. Defender's a little bit further away, but I guess he saw him coming out of the corner of his eye, knew he'd fly by, and nice play overall. All right, let's go Keaton Wagler possessions versus Houston and Kingston Flemings. Good drive there. I know he didn't make it, but I think the takeaway here is that he's able to get to the rim without all that explosion. Right, little change of speed, little herky jerky hesitation. Um, I like this from him. Stop, start. He blew a layup. He probably makes 8 out of 10 times. To me, that's a win. Good to see him get to the rack. All right, rhythm pull up three from far away with 15 on the clock. Obviously, not a great shot, but he's a very confident shooter, shot maker. Um, it was almost like a heat check type of shot, and there was no reason for the heat check, but clearly in his range. Wagler again. I mean, this is where the lack of explosion does show. It's more of at the end of his finishes, not necessarily the beginning of his drives. Like there's a quick little move. He does these little things to gain an advantage at the point of attack. Here, he goes for the decel because he doesn't have that extra gear to kind of explode, and that forces him to almost an impossible contested lefty layup below the rim. We got Wagler bottom of the screen spotting up. I mean, that's a pretty quick release. Like that's textbook. In and out of his hands. His hands were sitting there ready. I mean, you knew he was going to make a shot there, even regardless if you knew he was getting the ball. All right, here we go. Point of attack. Emmanuel Sharp on him. I love that move. We could talk about the finish later, but this is just like a good feel for what to do here. Right, he rejects the screen. He sees who is that Sinak, who reads it poorly. Um, nice left to right crossover here. Like let's see, he could have gone floater. Um, it wasn't even a bad finish. It was more of a good contest. But again, if he had some explosion, he could have drawn a foul here, or maybe gotten a better angle on the finish. This turned into a ridiculously hard finish, but he does have that coordination to kind of like make these adjustment lefty finishes. But obviously, there are players who would have gotten a higher percentage finish than Wagler here, whether it would be with the floater right here or just more explosion going through the rim protection at the rim. All right, Wagler top of the key. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, I could have guessed he was going to miss that. He does not shoot well on those shorter pull-ups. And to me, that's the shot right there. I mean, it's not like he got a bad shot, so I guess there's not too much criticism there. But he's a good enough shooter where maybe the pass is a little bit low, but he could have shot it over Emmanuel Sharp there. Anyway, that's a shot that he'd really elevate his game if he can hit those 2-point pull-ups because he's going to have a lot of hard closeouts. He's going to command a lot of those hard closeouts. All right, pick and roll, top of the key. All right, he's on an island with Sinak here. I mean, that's a pretty move. Yeah, I mean, that's like, these are the flashes where you're like, okay, this guy's, got star potential. Right to left creates just enough space. I mean, might as well be shooting in an empty gym there. Not the best footwork from Sinak, but very pretty advanced move there from Wagler and very smooth shot. yeah, somehow Wagner around with the ball. Probably not going to get you a ton of offensive rebounds. But like, there's the like, after that should have been probably an N1. Nice little coordination there, to get him balance and again get that good finishing angle, which he can do. He wasn't terrible at the rim despite the lack of explosion. Top of the key. I mean, that's probably going to, we saw him make that in the Iowa game. The penny move, like, this is the type of stuff that gets people out of their seats and creates visions of a superstar. He happened to miss that. But again, like, I'm not worried about his ability to create space for himself, particularly around the perimeter. And he's a big time shot maker. Like, again, this is why I think he kind of has a high floor. I mean, the ability to create from the point of attack on the perimeter and get into that shot, which is a very believable shot. He was a good shooter in high school. This is again, more signs of how confident he is and what his range is like. Obviously, he missed it, but also obviously that he makes those in practice. That's a shot that's in his wheelhouse. Yep, I mean, that's a quick release. Boom. I mean, that's why another reason, like, he can go to any team because, yeah, if you go to a rebuilding team that doesn't have a point guard, you train him and you give him on ball reps right away. But at 6'5", barefoot, and this type of shooting skills, you could easily play him at the two guard as well. Yeah, again, nice move here to create the separation. The footwork is there. I mean, that's a clean shot. He misses it. And again, I told you before, I think he's only 8 of 24 on 2-point jump shots for the season. Being able to score in that mid range, something that Flemings has. It's funny they're kind of polar opposites in that regard. That's just obviously to make him more of a three-level scorer will elevate the threat he poses as a scorer. This is the beginning of the game.